Okay, so now we are ready to build the final craft that we're going to need for this mission, which is going to be the ship that will go up and return Bill to Earth, or Kerbin. So, what we're going to want is a satellite part to start out. So, we will grab that, and then we will add a cockpit to it. Now, we probably actually want a bigger satellite part than that, now that I think about it. So, let's see. How about this? There we go. That is better. And now we can place this right there. So, the reason we're doing a satellite is because this is going to be empty, this crew container here. And it's obviously going to be empty so that Bill can get in it and return to Kerbin. What we're going to need then is just a tiny bit of, we could even use RCS here actually. So let's put an RCS tank and then another RCS tank here, and then let's see, here's our RCS thruster. Okay, so we're going to put our RCS thrusters right there, and that should control the craft fairly well. Now we want to, on the bottom of this, put a heat shield, and on the top we want parachutes. So let's get 4 parachutes right there. We will get a parachute on top here. Whoops. And then I always like to put at least 2 parachutes on the capsule, because in case everything falls apart for whatever strange reason, at least the capsule should have parachutes on it whenever you're re-entering the atmosphere. So that is going to be that, and then we can put a nice heat shield on the bottom here. There we go, that'll work. It's large, but it should still work. It'll cover everything at least. Should we maybe use the smaller one? I don't know. See, I don't know if that is better because this thing is bigger than the heat shield. So let's use the big one. But I think you could get away with using either, because I have done it before, using the smaller one. But we'll use the bigger one for now. And let's get then a decoupler, which is right here. What size do we need? Is it? Yeah, it's this size. Okay. So basically, we are going to have a larger fuel tank here. Let's get one of these with 4 engines around it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this here, and then we are going to put all of these swivel engines right here. And that is going to be our craft. So what's going to happen is this part here is going to get us, once we're up, we're going to get this up into orbit. This will get us near the other craft. We will dock to it, and then we will decouple this, and this part will parachute itself into Kerbin. And that is going to be that. So we will name this Rescue Craft and save it. And now we need another decoupler down at the bottom. Do we have SAS on here, by the way? I don't think we do. So we'll pull this up. We'll place an SAS unit right there. And the other thing we are going to need to do is place batteries and solar panels. So should we do, is it under utility that we have a service bay? No, that's a big one. We want a smaller service bay right here. Place it right in there, and that'll be good. Service bays are useful for filling with batteries and scientific experiments and generators. Today we are going to be using generators. So we can place those in there and they will clip through and take up almost no space, which is nice and useful. Okay, then we want utility and some battery packs. You can place these things in there. Oh, we could do that, but we're not going to. You could place one in, let's see, right in the center there like that, and then batteries around it like that. And then we will close the service bay, and there we have power generation and a lot of power storage for our thing. If we still want to, we can put some solar panels on right here, and that shouldn't do any harm. Let's drop them down so they're at least all the way on the capsule. Okay, so there we go. That is our craft. Now we need to get this up into orbit, so I'm going to build a very similar variation of the heavy launcher. Let's see. Actually, we could maybe launch this with a bunch of solid fuel boosters and one orange tank of fuel. Let's try that. Whoops. Got to make sure to click on the satellite there. Okay. Now we want to set structural decoupler, big old decoupler right there, and then we need a big old fuel tank. Or the other option would be to use just the massive fuel tanks and engines, but I don't think we need that. Let's get a skipper engine here, and then let's get a bunch of radial decouplers. There we go. We'll try and get 8 of them and put on solid rocket boosters, the largest ones here, these babies. We will need to move this down, obviously, because they are clipping through, and that's not going to work out well. But if we move this all the way down, no, they still will clip through. Alright. Well, we need to move this, then, up a bit. If we can, but we can't. So, what we could do is swap out these engines right here. We are going to swap them out for these Terrier engines, because up in orbit that should work fine. And the other thing we have to do that we didn't before is add a fuel duct starting on the inner tank here and going out to your outer tanks. Make sure you have one on each engine, and there is that. Okay, so we want all these solid boosters to fire. We will scream upwards for a long time. Let's make this more aerodynamic here with little things like this. And as long as that doesn't clip into the engines, ooh, it does a tiny bit. Tiny bit. Can we lower this even more? Alright, there we go. No clipping there. We're good. Now we need to make sure to strut it up. And we will connect all of these at the top and bottom. Then we will connect it up in here like this. And we will connect this all the way up like that. Okay, then we want to connect these up to here. There we go. And let's connect from here to most of these things. Okay. There we go. That'll work. Should be strutted up sufficiently. Now we need some launch clamps, and we will be ready to go and try and rescue Bill. So, there we go. Let's save, and hopefully we have everything and we will be ready for launch. Okay, here we are ready to launch, and I noticed I didn't put my launch clamps in the same stage as the boosters. You got to make sure to do that. Okay, so we turn on our SAS, throttle up, and let's see how well these solid boosters work. Alright, we are lifting off, getting through the thickest part of the atmosphere. Hopefully we will just maintain a straight path until these solid boosters run out, and then we can get all the way up into orbit with this one orange tank. I think we can do it. I really do. So, these will all fire at the same time as... Oh, no, that's not right. Alright, we have to do some quick restaging here. We need these to fire at the same time as this engine. There we go. Good thing we caught that. Now we are starting to turn over. I am not doing that on my own. That is the ship. But luckily it is turning over in the exact direction that we need it to. Now these solid fuel boosters are lasting a very, very long time. So we are going to be up through indefinitely into the thinnest part of the atmosphere before they run out. So that is great, and there they are out. We can ditch them and fire up our engine, and now we basically want to just turn all the way over because, yeah, we are already heading up out into space. And we want to get be shooting for the 107,000 meter mark. That is where our target ship is going to be orbiting. So we will burn up and just worry about circularizing our orbit, and then we will worry about getting actually docked up to the other ship. Or actually, yeah, we aren't even going to dock up to the other ship. We are just going to meet up with the other ship, because we don't have a docking port on this. You could put one up here if you want, but I have a parachute there instead. The thing is, we don't really need one. We just need to get close, and then he's going to EVA from one to the other. If we had to transfer fuel or anything like that, then we would want to use a docking port. But for this, yeah, we don't need it. So, here we go. We are extending our orbit out and up a bit. Let's get it up to like 107-ish. The thing is, alright, we're out in front of him, so we actually need to be up above 107 at some point. But if we can circularize us at 107, then we'll be on the same orbit as him. We can try and match up his angle of inclination, and then it'll be hopefully easy from there. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to shoot for around that 107 mark to circularize ourselves. There we go. Now we can face right over here and start burning. So yeah, we're just bringing this up very slowly and extending out our orbit. And we're going to want to do that at full throttle until this orange tank runs out, and then we will have the Terrier engines that will hopefully be able to finish the job. So there we go, they're near the 107 mark. Let's kill the engine for a bit. Let's warp up closer to our apoapsis and then finish up this burn the best we can, at least. Alright, so we are out of fuel with that stage. We ditch it. Nope, nope. Now we ditch it. Ditch. There we go. Now we've ditched it. And we can finish up our orbit with these Terrier stages here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have to get this up to pretty much exactly 107. That is going to be our goal. So let's keep going slowly here. And right about there is good, because now that is higher, but that's fine. So we're up in a very similar orbit to our target craft, which we will now set as our actual target. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to add a maneuver node here, and we're going to see what we need to do to change so our angle of inclination is the same as his. So what we need to do is go down and then pull ourselves out a tiny bit, and we will be on a very, very similar orbit to them. So that is going to be our maneuver, and it is happening in 1 minute and 45 seconds. So that is when we will try and correct so that we are on a very, very similar orbit to our target craft. And then I'll show you how to correct the distance between us after that. But the first step a lot of times is to get on a similar orbit. From there, it's very, very simple. Okay, so we will start this burn now. Let's see. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. That's alright. We will start this burn, and we can watch our orbit here. And it is getting to be very similar and pretty darn close to the target orbit. Okay, so let's kill that, because we are right about at the exact same orbit as our target, which is terrific. So now where are we? We are right here. How do I please let me go back to my ship. Hold on. Okay, so we are back to where we are, not around Kerbin. Now, what we want to do is basically this thing is behind us, so we want to speed up. And if that doesn't make sense, it's okay. But the thing is, if we speed up, we will shoot farther out around the planet and slow down on the other side. Therefore, giving it time and taking a shorter path, it will catch up to us. So that's why when we are being trailed by an object, we want to speed up to let it catch up to us on the way around. So now you see, if I start to burn prograde, and the thing is, you can do this with maneuvers too. So like if I add a maneuver here and burn prograde, you'll see how close the target gets, or intersect there. That's how close it is. So like we could do this maneuver, and it's basically just telling me to burn straight prograde, which I already knew, so we don't need the maneuver. But what we're going to do then is just burn prograde until this intersect gets very, very low. Alright, and once your intersect gets very low, it is very simple to finish off the docking. So we will warp to, let's say, a few minutes before that really close intercept, because we are going to be going faster than them when we get there, because we just sped up, obviously. So now see, we are looping out farther, and they are going faster on this side of the planet, and they are catching up to us, and this is just a perfect illustration of that. And there we go. So now we are getting fairly close to our target. What we want to do is make sure, you can see where our target is over there. We want to make sure we are facing retrograde, because we are now in target velocity mode. You can see it says target and then your velocity. That's how fast we're moving relative to the target, and that shows up when you get close enough to your target. So here we go. We will warp up a bit farther. Let's warp up now that we're facing the right way. warp to right there, and you can see we're getting very close to our intercept now. Okay, so there is the other ship, and we need to slow our target velocity down to basically 0. When you get close enough where you can basically see the other ship, you just want to burn retrograde until your target velocity is nearly 0. And so that is what we do. Now, basically, it's as simple as you might think. You just point at the ship, because you're going basically 0 miles an hour relative to it, and this little pink dot is your target, and so you just want to get going towards the ship. Now, you don't want to be going right at it, and we are going right at it, so eventually we are going to want to slow ourselves down. So we'll face the retrograde here and just burn up, or warp up, and you can see if you just warp at 5 times speed or 10, we're just slowly getting closer to the other ship. Now, all we're going to have to do, since we aren't actually docking, but the thing would be, if you dock, you just have to get this down to basically 0. But here, if you take your target velocity and just again burn retrograde, it'll get you to 0, and it's a slow process of reducing your target velocity to 0, pointing back at your target, and getting closer. So, alright, there our target velocity is at pretty much 0. If we wanted to dock, we would head in and face the target again, burn for a little bit. There we go. We're going 2 meters a second, right directly at them. Now we'll switch around here, and when the time comes, we can burn to stop ourselves. And basically, you get the idea. Docking in Kerbal Space Program is a weird thing, and orbital mechanics and these burns and stuff, it's a weird thing because it can be the most frustrating thing to learn, but all of a sudden it just like clicks once, and then you know exactly what you're doing, and it's great. So, now if I wanted to dock, I would probably switch to RCS at this point, but what you do is you just face directly at the target. You can use your bracket keys to flip between them, and say I had a docking port on there. What I would do is I would open the shield, RCS, I would set this ship as my target, if I could click on it, but either way, you can just RCS yourself to face that ship, and then you would be able to slowly move in and dock. And if I had a docking port on there, I could set it as my target and it would make it a lot easier. But basically it is still the same little dance we just did of changing your relative velocity to 0 and then slowly inching yourself towards the target. When you come in for docking, you need to be going with your docking ports facing the same direction. They need to touch, and you need to be going like less than like 3/10 of a meter per second or something like that. Now the thing is, I'm not going to crash these things into each other here trying to dock, or pretending to dock. So what I'm going to do is just get Bill out on EVA and transfer him over to his rescue ship. This other ship will stay up in orbit. So R to use your jetpack, W, A, S, and D, Control to go down, Shift to go up, and then we just gotta get ourselves in the plus and minus keys, zoom in and out. We gotta get ourselves in, find the cockpit door, or the, whoops, sticky keys came on because I hit shift too many times. There's the door. Alright, F to grab, B to board, and there we go. He is on board, and we are ready to return from orbit. So, Now what we can do, since this is sandbox mode and I don't care, we can just burn retrograde, basically. We need to unset this as our target, though, because right now it's just target velocity that we're seeing. Let's see. How can we unset this target? There we go. Alright, that was easy. Now, that is just going to tumble around in space. We, on the other hand, are going to burn retrograde for a bit. You will see that will lower our orbit down. And we're going to lower it to right around 30,000-ish. And then we can actually basically just ditch the rest of this stuff. So we can ditch this stage and deploy our parachutes, and we can warp around until we are down in the atmosphere, and we are going to come in for our braking and slowing down and all of that good stuff. And Bill will be safely rescued. We will have learned a good amount about orbital mechanics, how to get to the moon, how to meet up with other ships in orbit, and things like that. So, hopefully this was an educational tutorial mission for you guys. Let me know, as I mentioned before, what else you guys want to see in tutorials. I recorded all of the ones that I have so far here in one sitting, so I haven't actually seen any of your comments yet on any of them. But starting now, I will hopefully be getting to some of those if you guys had a lot of suggestions. So, here we go. We are coming down into the atmosphere. And we can just 4 times warp for a little while. Bill is happy as we are dropping down in the atmosphere. And the thing is, you want a fairly shallow angle of descent into the atmosphere and then to aero brake and slow yourself down, because if you come just straight down into the atmosphere, you're going to be going so fast, you're going to be screaming in. There's going to be a ton of heat and stuff generated from that, and possibly even your parachutes could rip off if they deploy and you're still going too fast. And if your parachutes rip off, that is basically the end for that mission. It's the worst nightmare basically in Kerbal Space Program, is having mission going great, but you take too steep of an angle back into the atmosphere, parachutes rip off, or the heat shield doesn't work or something, and your craft disintegrates and it's all gone. So that is why it's important to take your time on re-entries and don't rush them, basically. That is my advice to you. So, here we go. We are coming down now. The sun is coming up. We are going to land on land, it looks like. But that's alright. Doesn't really matter too much. We shouldn't blow up or anything like that. So, Bill is back from the moon, and the mission is close to being a success, just as long as we can get through this atmosphere safely. So this massive heat shield is doing its job pretty well. We can get out of time warp here, and we're going to fly over these mountains. Hopefully we make it over the mountains and don't land in them. But yeah, it looks like we should. And we can come and land on the nice flat area just past them, and that'll be terrific. So, we will warp a bit down there. The thing is, I don't want to warp too fast, because you do need to remember to keep yourself oriented so that your heat shield is first and leading the way and catching all the heat. So, here we go. We are screaming through. The parachutes should be ready to deploy soon, as we are getting lower and lower, and lots of heat being generated now. Gotta make sure we face retrograde, and there go the parachutes, and we are slowing down for a nice easy landing just past the mountains. and this is gonna be perfect. Look at that, Bill. You're coming home. You can hit C, by the way, to go into cockpit view and take a look around. I don't think I've mentioned that in any of my tutorials, so if you're completely new, C gets you to cockpit view, which is also known as IVA, and then you can look at all these buttons. You can fly from in here and do all the stuff. There's instruments. I don't know where they are in this one necessarily, but like, okay, if you turn off your SAS, you can see the SAS light goes on and off. We don't have any throttle or anything like that, but we could throttle up. Here's our altimeter. Here's the atmosphere reading thing. The blue little bar there shows how thick our atmosphere is. And I don't know if there's a nav ball. Is it up? Oh, I bet it's up here. Yep, here's the nav ball. There we go. Okay, so this is how you would fly. You can see we can turn ourselves just using the craft's SAS rotation. So we can do that, swing around, and get ourselves a cool view as we parachute down. So that is that. That is inter-vehicle activity, or intervehicular activity, whatever it's called. Either way, we are on our way down now. We can time warp all the way up. And again, I'll show you guys the ending of this one, just because we're landing on land, and I'll let you guys see how the landing goes. But I'll bring you guys back right before touchdown. Okay, here we are, and we are in cockpit view again, because here we see the altimeter. Now, this is actually one of the most useful ways to land, because this is how far you are above the actual surface of the planet, whereas your altitude is how far you are above sea level. So, if you don't land directly at sea level, this is the only way to tell how high up you actually are. Whoops. So, there we go. The parachutes fully deploy when you are 500 meters above the surface. So they have fully deployed now. And as you can see, we are just gently sliding down, and we're going to warp ×4 speed until we get right down to the bottom. And then we will land and hopefully not tip over, and that would be great. So, that is going to be the end of the mission. Again, hopefully you guys learned something and it helped out, and hopefully you're enjoying the tutorial so far. Hopefully you've checked out my 1.0 career mode, where I am basically learning what the heck I am doing before I teach you. So, that is that. Make sure to check that out. Like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it and you haven't done those things already. And I will see you guys next time as we come down here for the final touchdown. Let's not explode. It would look real bad if this exploded. But nope. There we go. We are back, and we can go to the Space Center and recover the vehicles, and that will be that. So, thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.